evaluated. We will be presenting to you the slides. Okay, so I will be dividing my session into two. First is the guidelines. As I discussed with the guidelines, I will also be pointing out salient points on the criterion items that are found in our evaluation tool for content, so that in the second part, which is the tool, I will not be going into details the tool itself. Instead, I will just be pointing out those that you need to remember in using the tool. So I will focus to one objective only of the guidelines because Dr. Palmera has comprehensively given you other details of the guidelines which are similar to language, content, and even for the layout. So what's the objective? So to evaluate the content, so what about the content? If it has met or has complied the content standards based on our MELCS. So the guidelines set the roles and responsibilities of the LREs. So basically, they are responsible in evaluating and checking the assigned modules. And what are to be checked by our evaluators? So they will check for errors on concept or conceptual errors, factual, procedural, pedagogical, computational, if there is any, and grammatical errors. Now, aside from the errors, they have also to check on the violations on social content. If you can still remember, Ma'am Devs mentioned about social content. So this is somehow wide scope for it pertains to some observable observance of our social values. So to mention some of the violations, just to remind us, we might be able to give sentences or paragraphs depicting biases, violence, or stereotyping. So here, we have to consider the materials that promote respect to the rights of the children, cultural diversity, conservation of our natural resources, balance in treatment of the gender roles, and many more. And another one, evaluators will also be evaluating the assigned modules one at a time using the criterion items. So these criterion items are found in the evaluation tool for content. Now in the tool, there are 6 different factors or standards. And in every factor, there are corresponding criterion items which the evaluators will be using in evaluating the module. So these are the 6 factors or standards. So as what I have said, each of this has different criterion items. So let's give time to talk about the 6 factors because they are very important. So the first one is the intellectual property compliance, and this includes the copyright violations, the proper and accurate citations of copyrighted text and visuals. Ma'am Janice will be discussing further on this intellectual property compliance. To the second one, the learning competencies, that's the second factor. This somehow creates a big impact on our LR because this is all about the alignment of the content of the module or our LR with the MELCS. So evaluators has to be very careful on this, and we all know how important this alignment is. The third one is the instructional design and organization. How are we going to design and organize our LR? So these are some points that we have to remember. The content of the LR should first contribute to the achievement of specific learning objectives. And this can happen when the content are logically arranged and organized. But actually, you need not worry about the arrangement because we have the template to follow. We will just acquaint ourselves with the template presented by our speakers. Now, content must be suitable to the level of the learners. And we are all familiar about this. It suits to their level of development, their needs, and their experiences. The content must reinforce, enrich, and lead to mastery. Actually, this is always our target, that after a student use our module, the mastery on the target competency has been developed. Now, use variety teaching and learning strategies. But in this point, please be careful here of that various because we might become too engrossed with the newly found activity. Ay, very nice kaayo ang activity. But then we forget that we go beyond boundaries, boundaries of what the students can do according to their level of development. So, dili ta makalimot no, with that. So, what else? Promote the development of